Is everybody ready, or anything that you need before we start? Okay. Well, in that case then, let me just put on my reading glasses, and I'll give you this press release. So, on April 14th, 2017, a Rexburg Police Department school resource officer was notified by a parent of a junior high school student that their child had been told by another student not to come to school on April 20th because he and his friends were going to shoot up the school. Officers were given the name of the juvenile making this statement. Officers and detectives were immediately sent to the junior high and began working closely with the Madison School District personnel to ensure the safety and protection of the students and to begin and conduct an investigation, which included interviewing suspects and witnesses. As of today, the Rexburg Police Department has identified and interviewed 6 juvenile males involved in this incident as those making the comments or alluding to any violence at the school, as well as witnesses. We have met with the parents of these juveniles and made them aware of what has been happening. Our investigation has concluded and determined that the involved juveniles had no intentions of committing any acts of violence at the school or to anyone. And in fact, this is a case of some juveniles trying to be cool among themselves and with a few other individuals whom they made comments to. These comments were made in extremely poor taste and in bad judgment and were overheard by witnesses. This entire event began when a juvenile was playing an online video game and, after losing, commented over headphones online that he was going to shoot up the school. This occurred sometime in late February or early March, and this group of kids has continued to play upon this comment with each other. One of the juveniles brought the date of 4/20 or April 20th into the discussion because he heard it was a national pot smoking day. We have confirmed with the parents that these juveniles did not have any known access to weapons, and none of the parents kept guns in their homes. We take these matters extremely serious and are invested personally in these matters, as many of our officers have children attending the junior high and other schools here in the Madison School District. Safety of our children is paramount to us and to the Madison School District officials, and we strive to provide the safest possible environment for them and our teachers. As part of our continued effort, though, we will not only have school resource officers in the school, but through the remainder of this week we will have detectives, patrol officers, and K-9 officers in the school on foot patrols and vehicular patrols around the schools. And at this time, I would like to turn the time over to Assistant Superintendent Randy Lords for any comments that he wishes to make.
First off, we'd like to thank the Rexburg Police Department and their officers and detectives for the diligent response that they had in responding to our administrators as they contacted the Rexburg Police Department. Madison School District's goal is our main goal is to make sure that our students and staff are safe and protected. As they come to school, they're able to learn and have a great experience. So we appreciate the support of the Rexburg Police Department, their detectives, their officers, and feel very confident in the job which they've done.
Can I clarify something? So you said that this was made, the threat was made originally back in February or March while they were playing video games, and then you were made aware of it last Friday?
That's correct. First we found out about it was Friday.
So the kid told his parents on Friday, or did the parents just not come forward for a while?
No, what happened is this group of kids had been joking and talking about this amongst themselves. A parent of a student, that this student just found out about it this last Friday, notified his parents that night before, and the parents notified us on Friday concerning this incident. And so that's the first time that we become aware of it, or I believe that the school district has had any knowledge of this.
If you found out about it on Friday, why are we waiting until Monday to notify parents?
Well, because first off, we have to check into, we immediately sent officers over to ensure that the safety, we started the investigation. We want to see what's going on before we cause widespread panic on something that may turn out to be nothing. But our first endeavor was to make sure that the school was safe. And so we, like we said, we sent investigators and our school resource officers over there, and immediately made contact with the student that we had heard was one of them that made the comments, found the names of the other students. And so that's today, we've been there all weekend, and today is the kind of the conclusion of that. We wanted to make sure we get this out to the parents.
You said 6 kids were involved, is that?
Six kids that we would say would be suspects that had involvement one way or another in making comments.
This is a twofold question, one for each of you. Any charges against them, and are they expelled or suspended from school?
Go ahead, I'll let you handle that first.
I just want to go back 1 second with what the chief had talked about. On Friday, we have, most people in Rexburg know, but you may not, we have an early out in all of our schools on Friday. So by the time they were notified, the school was notified, law enforcement was notified, our kids were actually headed to buses and on their way home Friday afternoon. It was about midday that we found out. So that's the other reason why is school was gone and allowed law enforcement to do their work. Right now, our principals, the administrators at the junior high, and the parents involved are working together on a course of discipline of what will happen with these students. We want it to be a learning experience, but we also want them to understand the serious nature of what's happened. You take a junior high kid right now, 9th grader, and tell him to go over and pull the fire station. They won't do it because they understand the consequences, because we've taught them that since kindergarten up, that there's jail time, there's fines. I think joking about, or what they perceive to be trying to be funny about a school shooting incident, they need to understand the seriousness. So it's our job to not only provide discipline, but also instruct them on what's appropriate and what's not.
Were they doing the joking on school property, or is it just out of school, or amongst
Both.
themselves?
It was on an internet online game, is where it started, and then they talked about it over lunch for several days apparently.
So it's been just an ongoing joke or whatever for a couple months now?
Yes. As far as the question you had about whether the prosecutor, this will all be going to the prosecutor's office for his review to decide what is the best course of action on his side.
Did these kids that you interviewed admit to making the comments? I know you said you heard it from a parent of a kid who heard it, so did they actually admit to making these
Yes,
comments?
so all the kids have been brought in, all the kids have been interviewed, and they've all admitted to the parts that they played in.
So not a he said, she said sort of thing?
No.
You said that they had planned it on the 20th for the pot smoking day. Is it any correlation with it being the 18th anniversary of the Columbine shooting?
Well, so April 20th does hold some significance with various groups for different reasons. One, Columbine was on April 20th. Hitler's birthday, April 20th. And again, it's kind of the drug use day. The kids, as we've interviewed them, the one juvenile that kind of brought this forward, this date, in his mind, he knew it as a drug day. Says he didn't have any idea or associate it to Columbine or any other significance.
What was the name of the game that they were playing online?
It's called Chivalry, and it's from what I understand, because I'm not a big video gamer, it's a medieval knight type sword fighting game.
It wasn't a shooting game of any kind?
Not a shooting game.
Okay. How often do you think kids, either on campus of the school or at home, are thinking or talking about these things from video games, either shooting up schools or violent behavior?
You know, I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that question. I don't know. Our purpose, though, here today, when you mentioned earlier about notifying parents, that's now that we have the facts, and again, we've had officers all day. We want to get this information out to parents. This is our notification out.
You both could probably answer this next question. We've seen just 2 weeks ago now the California elementary school shooting. We've seen several incidents across the country of school shootings. Obviously you take these threats seriously, but have you changed your protocol and your response to these sorts of threats?
Would you like to?
I can answer that as a school official. We feel very confident as a school district here with the support we have from both the Rexburg Police Department and Madison County Sheriff's Department. When Chief Turman took over as the chief of police, one of the things he did for us is he asked every one of his officers not to drive by a school. Meaning, if they drove by a school, stop, get out, walk through. I have been in schools multiple times during a week and bump into the chief, his detectives, the captain, patrol guys. So I think just in the last couple of years, just having that relationship between our students and law enforcement has been, I think that's why we had somebody hear something, see something, and say something. And that's really what we're asking for from both parents and students. If, you know what, these guys, law enforcement, are the professionals. Let's let them vet what's real and what's not. I mean, our job as educators is to protect and we love the kids and educate them. Law enforcement's job is to investigate and protect us, and they've done a great job.
So we again also appreciate the school district because they allow us to have school resource officers in the schools, which we feel is extremely important in the day and age we live in. We also conduct with the school lots of active shooter training and different scenario trainings throughout the year multiple times on what to do on one of these incidents.
Does the comments given by the group of students involved, is it related at all to things that the school has done to reduce bullying on campus?
You know, from the information that we've gathered from the detectives in their interviews, this group of young men were not being bullied. There's one young man who's not really tied to the group. He's one of the 6, though not, I wouldn't say a close friend of the group, who did mention that, you know, he gets teased a little bit by some guys, but we're aware of it, and the school's been working on that actually before this incident ever came to rise. So bullying has not really been a part of this issue. This was just kids saying some dumb things and using, again, poor judgment and bad taste in comments and where they made them.
On the law enforcement side, you said you're gonna have K-9 step-up officers. On the school district side, what are you doing this week? Are you upping security measures? What's happening there?
So with our schools, we ask our administrators to be out in the hallways between breaks and class breaks. They'll, I'm sure, be away from their desk a little more during the day, work on paperwork at night so they can be out in the hallways. We work closely with law enforcement, so as law enforcement comes into the building, our administrators will walk with them. District office staff, myself, the superintendent, will be visiting buildings probably a little more frequent this week, and you know, just to make sure they see that there are adults in the building.
What's the current security policy of the schools? Are they, all the doors locked except for the main entrance? What is that policy that you guys have?
We do, thank you for asking. All of our schools, our patrons here in Madison County approved a levy that allowed us to go through all of our buildings and put a entrance into the office. So as people come to our schools, they have to come in through one set of doors. Second set of doors are locked. They enter the office, they sign in, check in with the office staff, and then at that point we either send for a student or the parent goes to meet with the teacher. So
You said this was, you want this to be a learning experience. There's parents asking on social media, what type of conversations should these parents be having with their kids about this not being a joke, and that it's safe to go to school on the 20th, because there obviously are rumors at this junior high. So what's the conversation that needs to be directed in families about this?
Well, if I can start off with that. So I have a daughter that attends the junior high. And I think one of the conversations that all parents should have with their kids, and I've had it with my daughter, is if something were to happen at your school, what would you do? And when I first had that conversation, she was like, I don't know, Dad. And so I've asked her to walk through the school and identify all the exits and where she can get out. Look at windows and see how to get out of windows if she needed to do that. And we teach that the first thing to do is run. Run, hide, or fight. If you can't run away and get away from the situation, hide. If you're found, you gotta fight. So have that. The second thing is conversation of, we live in a time where this is not a joking matter. They cannot joke on the smallest level about any kind of violence at schools. We can't tolerate it as a police department. I know the school won't tolerate it. So, and then I think the third thing is, just like this parent did and this student did, if you hear anything, notify an adult and have that adult get hold of the school officials and or the police department personnel.
You talked about the conversation that you had with your daughter about having to look for exits, the windows, the hide, the run, the fight. We would not have had this conversation 20 years ago. You talked about taking it seriously. How important is it? Because a lot of kids are going to be like, oh, it's just another adult telling me to be, and brush it off, but how important it is for these kids to take this seriously.
Well, I think one of the things, is, again, 20 years ago, we wouldn't have had this, because back then we had some bomb threats. And I remember being in high school when bomb threats came in, and we all went, hey, I don't know who called this in, but thanks for letting us get out of the day of school.
Yes.
Because, you know, we knew that it was some student or somebody just trying to get his day off of school. But because through the media, I don't think this is a joke at all with most of the kids and with parents, because we have seen the aftermath of these actions, and it's, unfortunately, it's on a daily basis almost. So we live in a time where we, again, my daughter, when I talked to her about this, she was scared. It was scary to her at first, because she knows the reality that that could happen. And I think that's one of the problems that we have in the area that we live, because this is a wonderful place to live. And sometimes we feel too safe and too comfortable that it could never happen in Rexburg, Idaho, or a small town like this. I worry that it can.
Well, and just to answer the question, what are we doing? We've worked closely with law enforcement on lockdowns, evacuations. One of the things that I would ask parents to do is encourage their students, when we do have lockdowns at school, to take them seriously. Anytime we lock a building down, we invite law enforcement over to go through the building with us, knock on doors, try and get into doors, see how students are responding. Sometimes students are taken very seriously, but the older they get, they think, just a waste of time, why are we doing this? Well, as educators, we value every minute of our learning day, and so if we think it's important enough to take time to do a lockdown, to do a training, parents could sure help encourage their students, hey, take it seriously. Our goal is to make sure kids feel safe. They can't learn if they don't feel safe, and so our #1 job is to keep them safe, and I feel like our teachers have done a great job with that. I feel like the support of the police department has helped us do that in our trainings.
Any other questions? We'd like to thank you all for coming, and appreciate it. So, thank you very much.